Vice-Chancellor of the University of Calabar, Professor Florence Banku Obi, hosted the university's 50th anniversary and 37th Convocation lecture. The lecture, titled Our Gown in Town and in Cyberspace, Sustainable and Human-Centered Education, the Mandate of a University's 2025 to 2027, featured the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, as a guest lecturer. Do stay tuned.
Well, on that note...
Great Malabite! Action! Now. Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I must begin by saying this. There is no greater honor than to return home, to stand on the very soil where one's dream we are first planted, and to speak before those who nurtured them into reality. Years ago, I sat on the other side of the room, absorbing the wisdom, knowledge, and training that shaped me. Today, the roles are reversed. The joy of my esteemed lecturers as they witness their outputs standing before them can only be imagined. From my Bachelor of Laws to my Masters of Laws, and now my Doctorate in Laws, this institution has been my forge, molding me, refining, equipping me both for local and global impact. So to University of Calabar, I say thank you. We are what we are today because you prepared us. Thank you. I hope today's presentation is a reflection of the excellence you have instilled in me. I'm here today not just as a guest lecturer, but as living proof that education has the power to lift a child from the most unlikely places and set him on a path beyond imagination. I was born in Benue, where the Southeast was beginning to rise from the abyss of the Civil War. The air still thick with the stench of blood and gunfire. As you know, war does not only take lives, it steals the light of learning, leaving behind ruins where schools should stand. And so, education was a privilege rather than a guarantee. Don't be shocked when I say my primary school classroom was under the shade of a tree. Prove that knowledge is never bound by walls or limited by circumstances. We had no blackboards, no desks, no digital tools, only the will to learn and the belief that knowledge could be our escape from limitation. Years later, I came back to that very place, not as a boy learning under the scorching sun, but as a representative of my people, building schools where I once sat under a tree and uplifting my community in ways that once seemed impossible. Indeed, I believe that education should not be a privilege. It should be a birthright, the inheritance of every child, no matter their circumstances. And while my journey began beneath a tree, it was at the University of Calabar that my roots found depth and my dreams found wings. Ladies and gentlemen, 32 years ago, when I first stepped into this university, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing the tough journey it took to earn a place in this prestigious faculty of law of this university. For those of us who fought for that seat, admission was only the beginning. To survive and thrive, you needed more than just intellect. You needed grit. You needed to understand that the books in the library were not just pages filled with ink, but doors, great doors leading to power, great doors leading to justice, great doors leading to change, if you like, development. And we had the best guys leading us through those doors. One of them spoke here today, Professor Eva, who took my lecture and gave the synopsis of it, as if she had an expo of what I was going to speak about. That is the quality of guides that we enjoyed while we were here. She has been here from the beginning, like she said, and the content has not reduced. Truly, I owe a debt of gratitude to the scholars who shaped me. The late Professor Mezurike, whose brilliance in international law and human rights inspired my ongoing PhD research. Dr. Boresien, whose constitutional law lectures were more than just lessons. They were roadmaps to governance. He didn't just teach us the law. He made us walk the law, dress the law, speak the law. He made us embody the very principles that now guide my responsibility in constitutional amendment as the chairman of the House Committee on Constitutional Review. How about Professor Michael Ockham, whose teachings on conflict of laws sharpened my reasoning? How about Professor Dada, whose mastery of company law, thank you, whose mastery of company laws etched in my mind to this day? And I must mention one of the guys that I enjoyed most, the late Professor Ijoma, a guru in philosophy and logic, who through the GSS lectures laid the foundation of our inquisitive and critical mindset, as well as solution-driven methods of thinking that overlooked challenges, but embrace possibilities. Let us pause a bit and rise for a standing ovation in honor of the lecturers and the students who have passed through this great university. From the current Vice Chancellor to those who came before, each has played a role in shaping the legacy we celebrate today. Shall we rise and give them a round of applause? All those who have contributed in molding leaders of this nation. Some of them are seated here. The President of the Senate was molded here. The Deputy Speaker was molded here. And a whole lot of us, including the Governor of this state. Thank you. You may now have your seat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Leaders we celebrate today, they made it happen. From my first year, this university opened its doors to those willing to step up, whether through the student law firm that we all enjoy, like Inner Temple Chamber and all the rest of them, or at the faculty level, or at the student union level, where we played one role or the other, or in fellowship and clubs that we belong to. I was fortunate to take a front seat in leadership across all these platforms, managing people and resources, and even representing the school before military administrators during the crisis like the Obufa communities crisis. The acting governor will be a witness to this because he was my schoolmate in those days. Now he's the acting governor of the state. He was there when we had the Obufa crisis. I was the representative that the school sent to go and negotiate for the ending of that crisis. I needed to put your hands together for what this university has built into us. These experiences were not just formative. They became the foundation of my journey into public service, preparing me for leadership on a national and global scale. This university did not just educate us. This university prepared us for life. It taught us to think critically, to lead courageously, to adapt, improvise, thrive, no matter the obstacles before us. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Nelson Mandela, in his address at the Madison Park High School in Boston, that famously stated, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." But as we celebrate this institution's 50 years legacy, we must recognize that education is evolving. The gown must now navigate cyberspace, not only walk the town. When I was a student, technology was a distant dream. We only had a few computers. We searched library shelves for books and found knowledge by Sherlock. We wrote our notes in longhand and we treasured them like gold. Today, information moves at the speed of light. Knowledge is available at the click of a button. The world has become a digital campus and screens have become classrooms. Yet, with all these advancements, one thing must never change. Education must remain human-centered. Technology must be our servant, not our master. As we look ahead to the next 50 years, we must ask ourselves, what is the mandate of our universities from 2025 to 2075? How do we sustain quality education in an ever-changing world? How do we ensure that technology serves humanity and not the other way around? These are the questions we must answer today. And with that, let us begin our journey into the heart of this lecture. Put your hands together because we are just commencing the lecture. In this lecture, we are going to look at the gown in town universities as beacon of light, not ivory towers. At the core of this lecture, this topic, our gown in town and in cyberspace, sustainable and human-centered education, the mandate of our universities, 2025 to 2075. This topic invites us to reflect on a simple yet profound idea. Our gown represents the academic robe. Our gown in town is a symbol of our commitment to education that transcends the boundaries of the classroom and imparts the very fabric of our communities. Our universities were established as engines of progress. Today, however, we face problems highlighting a disconnect between academia and everyday life, just like Professor Eka pointed out. These problems arise not from a lack of intellect, but from a misalignment with society's needs. As teaching and learning have long been measured solely by academic metrics, the length of dissertations, the complexities of theories, and the splendor of research, rather than their real-world impact. The challenge before us is clear. Our universities must move beyond theory to practical impact. Bringing the gown into the town and now into cyberspace, where knowledge is applied and ideas ignite change. In his seminar work, The School and Society, it was John Dewey who emphasized the need for education to evolve in tandem with societal changes, cautioning against outdated teaching methods that failed to prepare students for future challenges. The true measure of education is its impact on the town. How many university projects directly tackle local challenges like power, healthcare, water access, food security, or transportation? If universities do not first serve their own communities, their achievements risk remaining confined to ivory towers. The chairman of this occasion, Professor Eka, agrees with me on that. Our research must offer tangible solutions, while graduates must be equipped to address real issues from policy refinement to sustainable transportation. If the town does not feel the impact of our gown, our education is incomplete. Our universities are more than centers of learning. They are the backbone of our community and nation. Their value lies not in certificates, but in real-world impact. Institutions must go beyond academic debate, producing research that shapes policies proactively, rather than reacting to crisis. They should serve as policy hubs, not just locally, but globally, proving that when education meets innovation, solutions follow. After all, it was Sir Ken Robinson who emphasized the significance of creativity in education, asserted, and I quote, "Creativity is as important in education as literacy. We should treat it with the same status." It is time for our curricula to lead. Agriculture students must master drone mapping for pest control. Medical schools should integrate telemedicine and AI. Law faculties must adopt blockchain. For land registry reforms, engineering students must embrace robotics, and so on. When the ground mirrors the town's needs, productivity follows. When we bridge the gap between academia and society, university can drive national progress while contributing meaningfully to global knowledge. Thank you. Therefore, the question before us is simple. Will our universities shape the future or merely react to it? The answer lies in our collective commitment to innovation, commitment to sustainability, and commitment to purpose-driven education. But to shape the future, we must first understand how education itself has evolved. I want to tell you a little bit about the evolution of education and preparing for the future. Historically, education has been the bedrock of human civilization, evolving alongside societal needs. From the oral traditions of ancient Africa, where griots preserve history through storytelling, to the grand libraries of Alexandria, knowledge has always been the currency of progress. The evolution of education has always mirrored societal needs. In ancient times, learning was an elite privilege, with Socrates, Plato, Confucius imparting wisdom to select disciples. The Industrial Revolution of 1760 to 1840 introduced mass education designed to produce factory workers for a structured economy. The 20th century brought standardized testing and mass schooling, a model that still dominates universities today. But in an era of AI and rapid digital transformation, can this outdated system truly prepare students for the future? Or are we training them for a world that no longer exists? Are we training the students, the leaders of tomorrow, with the manuscripts of yesterday? The evolution of work is evidence of how education must constantly adapt. Many jobs that once defined entire industries have vanished. You may recall that telephone switchboard operators of 1950s and 60s were replaced by automated systems, just as video store clerks disappeared with Netflix and digital streaming. Typists became obsolete with word processors, and newspaper typesetters lost their relevance to digital publishing. Kodak, a giant in the photography industry, exemplified this shift. Are you aware that Kodak employed 145,000 people in 1988? They filed for bankruptcy in 2012 after failing to adapt to the digital revolution of the sector. Also, the way Nigerians consume news has undergone a seismic shift. Decades ago, families gathered around their television sets at 9 p.m. to watch the NTA network news, waiting for the official version of events. Some of you who are older than me and as old as me understand what I'm talking about. Today, social media delivers news instantly, often unverified and sensationalized. This has fueled citizens' journalism, blurring the line between facts and fiction. Traditional media houses like Channel TV, TVC, and Punch newspaper have adapted by embracing live streaming and digital platform. But the transition has not been smooth. Misinformation spreads faster than ever, with AI-generated deepfakes compounding the crisis. Are you aware that the 2022 report by the Center for Democracy and Development found that over 75% of Nigerians had encountered false information online? This, I believe, is because universities have not taken their place as the primary defenders of truth in the digital space. Journalism and mass communication program must evolve to train fact-checkers, digital forensic experts, and AI-trained media professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, today, AI and automation are reshaping industries. Reports from the World Economic Forum estimate that 85 million jobs will be displaced by AI by the year 2025, which we are in. But 97 million new roles will emerge in fields like AI ethics, fields like cybersecurity, fields like sustainability. Just 3 years ago, the famous prompt engineering, the skill of instructing AI such as ChatGPT, was unheard of. Now, it is a lucrative profession. Yet many universities have not fully adapted to embrace these changes. Ladies and gentlemen, by 2030, industries will demand AI specialists to drive automation, data privacy consultants to tackle AI ethical concern, climate adaptation experts to address environmental crisis, virtual reality designers to shape the metaverse, biotechnology engineers to merge AI with medicine, and digital well-being coaches to mitigate social media's psychological effects. Yet, how many Nigerian universities are equipping students for these roles? And how many lecturers are being retained and retrained to understand this shift? Lecturers, this is for you. Education must be lifelong. In my own experience, when I was in school, we had only a handful of computers. We used typewriters, not laptops. Today, I'm still learning, still evolving. If we expect students to prepare for the future, our educators must also be students themselves. It was, yes, as Alvin Toffler wisely said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Education is not merely about acquiring knowledge. It is about applying it to shape the future. If our universities fail to adapt, we risk producing graduates unprepared for the world they will inherit. Ladies and gentlemen, there are global examples of education as catalysts for community transformation, where universities are shifting to making part in their various communities. This is only not applicable to Nigeria. Around the world, universities are redefining their roles by aligning research, just like Professor Eka said, with community needs. And here are a few examples. MIT, at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the D Lab of Technology, the D Lab initiative has reached over 30 countries around the world, developing low-cost technologies that empower rural communities by training students to devise sustainable systems and solutions from solar-powered system to low-cost medical devices, as well as irrigation systems. MIT has demonstrated that academic excellence and community impact can go hand in hand. How about Stanford and Silicon Valley? This particular university has played a role in the economic development of Silicon Valley by producing what they call the StartX Accelerator. Stanford has helped launch over 200 startups whose collective venture capital funding exceeds $10 billion US. This integration of entrepreneurial spirit with academic research has transformed local communities and set a global benchmark for service exports. Coming down to Africa, University of Cape Town in South Africa have what they call the Water Research Commission, working with local municipalities to improve water management. Their projects have directly benefited over 1 million people by developing strategies to combat water scarcity and improve sanitation, illustrating the direct social impact of focused research. If you go to India, the India Institute of Technology have created incubators that have catalyzed more than 500 startups, generating billions of dollars in revenue. Their approach has not only enhanced local agricultural productivity through smart farming techniques, but also positioned India as a major exporter of technical expertise and services. In England, with Nijmegen University in Netherlands, has a cutting-edge agricultural research, which has been instrumental in boosting yields of smallholder farmers globally, including Nigeria, underscoring the power of targeted research in solving real-world food security challenges. These examples make it clear when universities adapt their gowns to meet the needs of their communities, innovation flourishes and local challenges become opportunities for transformative change. When we talk about education in cyberspace, let us focus on the digital awakening, which is education without borders. That's what comes to mind when I think about that. In 2025, technology enables a child in Aba, where I grew up, to watch robotics lecture from MIT on solar-powered tablets, which is a powerful bridge between global innovation and local opportunity. Yet many of our universities in Nigeria still rely on outdated methods and curricula. This is not merely a technological gap, it is an urgent call to harness the digital revolution. Over the past 2 years, if you like decades, digital learning initiatives have significantly expanded from what it used to be to what it is today. According to UNESCO reports, the number of students enrolled in massive open online courses, which is known as the MOOC, surged from 0 in 2012 to at least 220 million in 2021. Additionally, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 1.5 billion students worldwide have transitioned to online education. In its report, the World Economic Forum identified information and communication technology literacy as one of the foundational literacies essential for the 21st century. These statistics are not just numbers. They outline a roadmap for a collective future. A science fiction author known as William Gibson once said, "The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. The time has come to stop trailing behind and start leading. We must rise to our full potential, transform education, and ensure that every Nigerian youth has the power to shape the future. We must transform our educational institutions by integrating real-time data analytics, virtual labs, and interactive platforms, ensuring our graduates are prepared to lead in an interconnected world. Our classrooms should evolve from innovation hubs from what it is now to innovation hubs, where ideas seamlessly bridge theory and practice. We must empower our youths not just to adapt to the future, but to create it. This is our awakening, a decisive moment to harness the boundless potentials of education. While progress is on the way, several high potential areas require urgent attention from our universities. And here are the few critical areas where we must drive change. 1, gender equality in education, empowering women and empowering nations. We are witnesses to the innovation that the current VC has brought to the University of Calabar. The facts speaks for itself. When you hand over administration to women who has the competence to lead, they lead well. University of Calabar is being led well. Put your hands together for the Vice Chancellor. As we set our sights on Agenda 2075, it is time to rethink our approach to quotas in higher education. For the past 5 decades, admissions in Nigerian universities have largely been determined by geography, a system that, while addressing regional disparities, has done little to harness the untapped potential of our female students. Instead of geographic quotas, we must prioritize gender parity to increase women's participation in governance and leadership. If we want them to lead, we must prepare them by making sure we give them spaces to learn. Our quota system should serve as a tool for empowerment, ensuring that women, who are already the backbone of our homes as chief executive officers, step confidently into boardrooms and decision-making centers. Research by IDRC partners in South Africa and Ethiopia revealed that critical disparity exists in STEM field. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So that field, there is a gap there. And this runs through across African universities. Let me inform you that studies from 60 institutions in 8 nations highlight that women are more likely to drop out of STEM programs and face persistent microaggressions. Meanwhile, many institutions lack or fail to implement gender-focused policies. UNESCO data is there staring us in our faces. Their data tells us that female enrollment in tertiary education in sub-Saharan Africa is only about 40%, while only 24% of academic staff are women, a gap that further widens at the professorate level. In Ghana, for example, only 8% of professors in public universities are female. The African Evidence Research Database shows that just 32% of researchers are women. Yet, the return to investing in women's education are compelling. Are you aware that the 2018 World Bank report notes that the private returns to education are 12% for women compared to 10% for men, and in post-secondary education, 17% for women versus 15% for men. These statistics affirm that education is not only a sound investment, but a catalyst for societal transformation. When women are given equal opportunities, they bring unique insights and approaches that drive innovation, that addresses local challenges, and foster inclusive governance. The current Constitution review An effort I'm proud to be at the forefront of seeks to redress these imbalances in a meaningful and lasting way. As the sponsor of the seat reservation bill, I have championed legislative actions to increase women's representation in governance, ensuring that they are not just participants, but key decision makers in shaping our nation's future. Alongside these, other targeted initiatives are being pursued to dismantle systemic barriers that have long sidelined women in leadership and education. However, the sources of these measures depend on more than just policy. It requires a societal shift in mindset. It depends on our ability to energize and empower women equally and equitably. Therefore, we must move beyond the other room mindset and embrace a boardroom mentality for women. I think you should put your hands together for that. Let me repeat that. We must move from the other room mindset and embrace a boardroom mentality for women. They must not be confined to supporting roles. They must be in the rooms where policies are shaped, economies are driven, and the future of our towns and our technology and our nation is decided. Our collective future hinges on harnessing the full potentials of every citizen. As we prioritize gender parity in education, we create a dynamic, innovative society where we can thrive through transformative power of inclusive, forward-thinking leadership. When we think about education 2075, we must think about how do we use our education to harness the wealth around us. And I decided to pick on two: the blue economy and the solid mineral. Unlocking Nigerians' wealth beneath the ground. To build a truly prosperous nation, we must align our educational priorities with the resources that define our economic potentials. One such opportunity lies beneath our feet. Nigeria is abundantly blessed with solid minerals. Yet, for decades, our education system has focused more on theoretical disciplines than on harnessing the country's vast natural wealth. I'll give you an example. The North Central region holds significant deposits of tin, columbite, tantalite, and barite, all critical for modern electronics and industrial applications. How about Northwest? The Northwest is home to gold, home to granite, home to limestone, and offering vast potential for jewelry and construction industries. You talk about Northeast, talk about gypsum, you talk about kaolin, you talk about bentonite, you talk about many more that remain largely untapped despite their importance to cement production and pharmaceuticals, among others. Let's come down to South. The Southwest boasts reserves of bitumen, feldspar, gold, lithium, minerals essential for road construction, tree technologies, and ornaments. You come down to Southeast, where I come from, we are rich in lead, we are rich in zinc, we are rich in coal, and also shares in the oil and gas reserves that have historically defined the nation's economy. Let's go down to South-South. Beyond its dominance in oil and gas, possesses large deposits of limestone here in Calabar, clay, and rare earth elements, which have yet to be fully explored. Despite this natural endowment, Nigerians remain a net importer of many refined minerals products. The mining sector, despite its vast potential, contributed only 0.3% to Nigeria's GDP in Q3 of 2022. And this is according to KPMG, an increase from the Q3 of 2021's report of 0.2%. But still, very far below its capacity to drive economic transformation. The gap between what we have and what we gain from it highlights a crucial flaw in our educational system. Few universities dedicate faculties to mining. Few universities dedicate faculties to mining processing or extractive methodology. Research into value addition and refining and sustainable mining practices remain minimal. If our goal is to make education in 2075 more impactful and productivity-driven, then it must align with the needs of the nation, ensuring that the abundant resources beneath our feet become a catalyst for industrialization and economic prosperity. This administration has made commendable strides in repositioning the mining sector. Yes, we need to put our hands together for this administration. I say so because the amendment of the mining laws have created a more attractive investment environment for investors and responsible exploration. And I thank the President of the Senate who is seated here, the Speaker, the members of the Parliament who are seated here, the Senators, and the House of Rep members for seeing the gap in that sector and refining the laws to make it more welcoming for investors. Let's put our hands together for our legislators. The establishment of the Nigerian Mining Commission ensures regulatory compliance and strategic mineral development, while the recently launched Mining Fund is set to support small-scale miners and encourage local value addition. These policy changes will remain mere documents. However, unless we develop the necessary human capital to drive them, countries like China, countries like Germany have long integrated mining into their national educational strategies. What is holding us back? They are producing engineers, geologists, and mineral economics equipped to transform their economies. For instance, Germany's Freiburg University of Mining and Technology, which was established in 1765, is one of the world's oldest universities dedicated to mining sciences. How about China? China's integration of mining education has fueled industrial growth. Nigeria must do the same. Universities should establish specialized faculties. The Vice Chancellor is listening, the professors here, you are listening, heads of department, the faculty deans are listening. The universities must establish specialized faculties, collaborate with industry leaders, and offer hands-on training in mining and mineral processing. Making technical education accessible in local languages will boost participation in this sector. A strong mining education system will create jobs. It will drive industrialization. And it will shift Nigeria from raw mineral exports to local processing, thereby strengthening key industries. Having said that about the solid mineral, let's talk about the blue economy. Long before now, there was no Ministry of Blue Economy in this country. There was no intentional, deliberate effort to make sure we tap into the resources, the wealth that is in our oceans. But looking at the blue economy is key to maritime prosperity. Just as Nigeria's natural wealth lies beneath the ground, it also stretches across our vast coastline, an untapped economic powerhouse. The blue economy, which leverages ocean and water resources for sustainable growth, remains one of the most promising yet underdeveloped sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, with over 853 kilometers of coastline and 200 nautical miles of exclusive economic zone, Nigeria is strategically positioned to leverage its vast maritime resources. According to a study by Awoputi Adetoshe Emmanuel, Nigeria's inland waterways cover approximately 149,909 square kilometers, constituting about 15.9% of the country's total area, which, if properly harnessed, could revolutionize trade, transportation, fisheries, tourism, energy generation. Despite these immense opportunities, the sector remains largely untapped due to insufficient investment, inadequate infrastructure, and lack of specialized knowledge. According to the United Nations Environment Program, that is called the UNEP, Africa's marine and coastal tourism sector has the potential to generate over $100 billion in revenue by year 2030. Additionally, projections indicate that the continent's blue economy could yield about $576 billion annually and create about 127 million jobs by year 2063. Yet, Nigeria's maritime assets remain underutilized. Our ports are clustered in Lagos, strangling trade and inflating prices. Why are maritime students not modeling economic impact of a decentralized port system? Why aren't logistics departments and faculties partnering with fishing communities in nearby Bakassi, as well as Oron down the road, to design cold chain networks? You know that if tomatoes on their way to Apapa Port rust in traffic jam, that will lead to about 40% price hike in Kano market. A problem that GOWN can solve with data and policy blueprints. Yes, the blue economy holds vast potential, but its universities must lead in developing the sector, especially specific expertise. How many institutions offer maritime studies, oceanography, or marine engineering? How many research centers focus on marine conservation, coastal management, or offshore renewable energy? Without aligning our education with national priorities, we risk losing an industry crucial to economic diversification, job creation, and food security. As we advance towards Agenda 2075, education must evolve to include hydrospace studies alongside town and cyberspace development. The future lies not only on land or in digital frontiers, but also in the wealth of our waters. Our universities must rise to the challenge, producing the maritime economists, the naval architects who will position Nigeria as a leader in Africa's blue economy. How about power and industrialization? Like Professor Eva mentioned here, despite the immense potential of our blue economy, sustainable growth cannot happen without stable power supply. No economy, whether maritime, digital, or industrial, can thrive in darkness. Reliable electricity is the backbone of development. Yet, communities remain trapped in circles of blackouts and industries. In the South-South and the Southeast, the industries there struggle for gas, for industrialization. It ought not to be so. There should be fair distribution of this gas distribution, enable a fair localization of industries across the nation. The Electricity Act of 2023 was a watershed moment, a law that unbundled power, generation, power transmission, and power distribution from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. Yet, implementation gaps exist. Gas distribution infrastructure remains skeletal, stalling industrialization. Imagine undergraduates in engineering and economics collaborating to map pipeline routes using geospatial AI. Picture law students drafting frameworks for public-private partnership to fund infrastructure. This is the GOWN's role, to turn legislations into light bulbs. But as we power industries and expand infrastructure, ladies and gentlemen, we must do so with sustainability at the core. Energy without environmental responsibility is a short-term fix with long-term consequences. Let's look at the climate imperative, because I believe no green future without green minds. Nigeria faces significant environmental challenges, including increasing temperature, like you can see how hot it is here, rainfall variability, droughts, desertification, rising sea levels, and more frequent extreme weather events. These issues have led to biodiversity loss, reduced food and water security, increased poverty, and negative health outcomes. In 2024, severe floods affected over 9 million Nigerians and destroyed over 1.5 million hectares of cropland, exacerbating food insecurity. With 25 million already affected, this number is projected to rise to 33 million by late 2025. From the floods in Maiduguri to the gully erosion devastating communities in Southeast and Akwa Ibom, these crises highlight the urgent need for environmental education. Yet few Nigerian universities have fully integrated renewable energy studies of local environmental challenges into their curricula. Despite climate change and resource depletion, how many final year projects address these urgent challenges? Our universities should be developing solutions for flood-prone communities and helping farmers adapt. Imagine a microbiologist graduate pioneering biogas energy from waste. This vision underscores the role of every discipline, from philosophy to computer science, from engineering to medicine, from architecture to art, in addressing real-world problems. Thank you. This academic success lies not just in GPAs. It doesn't lie in GPAs, high GPAs, or publications. Because I hear people say, I have 1,000 publications, and what about it? How do we measure your impact? You publish so many theories with no practical evidence of impact. It ought not to be the style of education as we approach 2075. Education, as we approach 2075, must have meaningful societal impact to be relevant. Across the world, universities have committed to sustainable initiative as seen in the Taylor's Declaration, a 10-point action plan to integrate environmental literacy and sustainability into teaching, into research, into operation. As of 2017, over 500 universities from 55 countries of the world have signed this declaration, signaling a global commitment to sustainable development. Nigerian universities must take their place in this movement, not just by teaching sustainability, but by embedding it in their institutional DNA. If universities are to be true catalysts for change, should their impact not be measured by how well they advance the goals that define the progress? There should be a way of measuring that progress. The sustainable development goals that Professor Eka mentioned here as well has to have a direct relationship with the roles that universities play. Universities must take the lead in translating national ambitions into tangible progress. Let me repeat that. Universities must take the lead in translating national ambitions into tangible progress by aligning research, innovation, and policy engagement with the sustainable development goals. As centers of knowledge creation, they have a responsibility to drive solutions that foster inclusive growth, that foster sustainability, that foster resilience. education when we talk about SDG. We have SDG 4 and SDG 8 talking about workforce development. Expanding access to education must go hand in hand with improving quality of education. Universities should foster public-private partnership to enhance hostel capacity, recruit STEM lecturers, and introduce flexible learning models such as evening programs and online programs. How many online programs do we have at the University of Calabar? How many? Few, if there is any. There is a gap to increase it. But I must commend them because there is a little shift from what it used to be when I was here. During my PhD studies in the University of Calabar, I could do my interaction with my lecturers over the internet in some of my classes. And that is an improvement from what it used to be. Let's put our hands together. But we need to do more. We need to do more if we must be fit for purpose. When it comes to SDG 3, healthcare innovation, medical institutions, thank you. Medical institutions must incorporate AI-assisted diagnostics, telemedicine, and vaccine research to align with Nigerians' healthcare revitalization goals. Let me remind you, not too long ago, we had COVID-19, and all we used to handle that pandemic, they were all imported from overseas. It ought not to be so. This government is interested in ensuring that we have health security through local industrialization. Thank you, thank you. Now you go to SDG 2 and SDG 9, which has to do with agricultural transformation. Faculties of agriculture should drive AI precision farming, drought-resistant crops, and climate-smart practices to strengthen food security across the nation. When it comes to SDG 8 and SDG 9, universities must equip students with expertise in coding, in blockchain, robotics, and cybersecurity to prepare them for the digital economy. Ladies and gentlemen, looking ahead to 2075, the question remains, are our universities shaping the future or merely reacting to it? The institutions that embed themselves with national development strategies will produce graduates who do not just seek jobs, but create them, who do not just consume knowledge, but generate them. The vision of universities as engines of innovation aligns with national effort to expand opportunities for all, ensuring that education remains a powerful tool for economic mobility and social progress. President Tinubu's Renew Hope agenda, which has democratized access through the Student Loan Act, is worthy of mention. The Renewed Hope agenda envisions a future driven by economic growth, infrastructure, agriculture, digital innovation. As the President aptly stated, education is that light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how sluggish you move, it will give you the light and the hope. I couldn't agree more. Education is the great equalizer, the bridge between potential and progress. Yet, financial barriers have long kept many talented Nigerians from reaching that goal. On April 3rd, 2024, President Tinubu signed the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act, a transformative policy designed to remove economic obstacles. This act provides interest-free loans repayable only after employment, with special provision for the disadvantaged, ensuring that every capable student has a fair chance to succeed. We need to put our hands together for Mr. President. We also need to put our hands together for the National Assembly, who made this happen. Consider the remarkable progress made by student education loan, which disbursed about 23 billion naira in loans to about 94,000 students in 2023. This milestone has not only improved access to education, but also reaffirmed our commitment to empowering our youth. As new development commissions prepare their budgets, prioritizing education must be at the forefront. We must finance short, impactful programs in carpentry, plumbing, electrical engineering, and other trades to address the glaring gap in local expertise. By doing so, we create a workforce capable of transforming our towns and propelling Nigeria towards global competitiveness. Technology, agro-tech, and blue economy technology. As Henry Chesbrough reminds us in his book, Open Innovation, is the new imperative for creating and profiting from technology. The next suggestion is curriculum reform in partnership with industry. Our education program was evolved by engaging industry leaders in regular curriculum updates. We can ensure that our graduates are equipped with skills relevant to today's dynamic market. This not only bridges the gap between theory and practice, but also ensures that research is closely aligned with real-world challenges. The next is financial incentive for innovation. We must encourage our private sector to invest in academic research by offering tax incentive. This strategy also has been successful in several European nations. They can further stimulate our ecosystem where innovation is rewarded and practical research flourishes. Data-driven accountability is the next. Embrace robust analytics to track research outcomes, startup success rate, and community impact. With clear metrics, we can continuously benchmark our progress against global best practices, ensuring that our initiatives remain competitive and responsive. So, by using this triple helix approach, we can form a strong strategic partnership with those that will make the impact that is needed in our communities. Let me round up by saying this. There is no how our gown will be relevant in town, except we are intentional in ensuring that impact is on the front burner of what we want to achieve. In conclusion, I want us, because of want of time, to look at the document I have prepared. This lecture, I was told, is 1 hour. We are going to share the hard copy of the lectures. Find time to go through it, and I'm sure by the time you do, you will see reasons why we have to have a paradigm shift from what our education is at the moment to where our education ought to be. I've only given you the half of the lecture. The remaining half you'll find in the book. Thank you very much for listening, and God bless you.